I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain on a day like today? I do have one complaint. The reason I'm late is this stupid fucking goddamn. Sorry to start the morning off with swearing, but it's the stupid photo thing again. The dumb filing system that I use that is just mentally handicapped based on ridiculous shit Apple technology. It's just disgusting. It just is disgusting. I was early today, okay? So sorry to make everyone wait, but blame Tim Apple and the motherfuckers who can't build a goddamn fucking cloud thing. All right? Just unreal. You spend all this fucking money on Apple garbage, shit, and then it doesn't even let you share a fucking photo between a $1,500 fucking phone and a $1,500 fucking iPad, and you can't share a fucking photo. Disgusting. It's disgusting. They need to be bombed. They're terrible. Terrible. Unreal, these fucking people. Unreal. All right. Now, so what I had to do was make up new files and everything this morning, like the most ridiculous thing. I had to copy the album. So things are a little out of order, but that's fine. That's fine. Let me just read a few good mornings and then we'll jump into it. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Good morning. The race is coming to the last stretch huddle. Indeed. The border situation isn't looking good. Scott, 123, we're still going to win. There's other good news coming. Good morning, Christine. Hope you're doing well. John, good morning. Another beautiful day. You're right. Don't let my complaints bother you. Don't let me get you down. Beaumatin, good morning, Bitcoiners. B for victory. Hope you're doing great, my man. Aqualodge, good morning. Indeed, we got a sun and some coffee. Lightning Vend, I'm already drinking coffee and boiling oceans, and Sunrise Tech isn't even working yet. We're not at the Sunrise Tech part. GM team, there you go. Assalamu alaikum. It's okay, guys. The term violated people's constitutional rights can now be a common colloquial slang since any three-lettered organization has enjoyed the right to violate. I actually have one just along this Muslim Bitcoiner this morning. You're going to love it. It's it's a fake news headline from Canada. It's great. It's really great. Moscow, Moscow time. We're doing it, guys. Good morning, friends. Good morning, Tom. Bud, hope you're doing great. Good morning, gang. Indeed. John, Galt, Clips, good morning. I've been enjoying the last dip. Wasn't it good? Wasn't it good? Good morning, Nolan and Breakup crew. Good morning, Bitcoin Deb. But again, after a while, dips are more of an annoyance than a scare. Well, we like them going down sometimes. I'm going to get some cash in the old thing. Good morning to this rant, CK says. Hope you're doing well, CK. There you go. I'm skipping a couple because I'm a little late. Man, what's up with this weather? We had 4 days of ice, followed by 5 days of ice, followed by 4 days of rain. Yeah, it's global warming, Scott. Stop it with, you better not be home gardening, all right? You better not be home gardening because we found out that it's the worst. Nolan, you have a great day now that you got that shit off your chest. I know. I feel better. There you go. Good morning. I love life and everything that's bad for Trudeau. Well, we got some Trudeau fake news time. Let's just acknowledge our Sunrise Tech is operational before we talk about Trudeau. So maximum sunrise outside. Bitcoin, no troubles, guys. No troubles at all. All that's left for us to do, have a coffee and talk about what's new. All right, so we're going to start with some awesome Canadian fake news. All right. Oh, so it did fuck up my order. What a bunch of fucking shit. All right, so we'll get into it with Trudeau a little bit here, right? Battered in the polls. This is from the Toronto Star, right? This is the one where the other day where they were like, oh, you know, Trudeau, like he understands, but people are grumpy. It's not him, it's you. The actual cover of that story was it's him, not you, but the article ended up saying it's you, not him. So anyway, but here we go. Toronto Star, battered in the polls, Justin Trudeau's Liberals look for a boost from Donald Trump. Of course they do. Oh, this is great. So this is from the CBC. So it's the worst of the Canadian journalists, right? The worst. And fuckers. My order is indeed completely fucked. Oh my God. All right. I mean, what a piece of shit. There's supposed to be, it's like literally a wordplay in the headline, and it's exactly what Muslim Bitcoiner was talking about. So I have to have it. But this stupid fucking thing didn't put it in the goddamn right order that I fucking put it in. My fucking Lord. What a piece of shit. This is like the worst content you're going to find now, because fucking Apple can't make a goddamn fucking program that shares pictures. That's it. That's all I want, is a picture sharing thing between the devices. Why would I fucking buy all this Apple shit if I can't even fucking share? God damn it. All right, here it is. I had to go into the raw files, find it in the order that I fucking saved it in, instead of where it ought to have been, in the fucking order of the album that I made. All right? When Elon's phone is right. Yeah, it's the Canadian Supreme Court, obviously. But no, it's not. I didn't even get the right one just now. It's just another shit article from CBC. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right, let me go through every fucking picture that I took today until I fucking find it, all right? Unreal. Here we go, finally. Okay, I got it. Things are going to get better, guys. Things are going to get better. Things are going to get better, all right? These rants are good content. We're not here for ranting, guys. We're here for fun, not ranting. I know it's fun to watch me rant, but it's not fun. All right, okay. So this is it, right? So yesterday in Canada, I'll give you a bit of context. There's no punchline. I'm just going to give you the context. And I'll actually mention the woman who did this. Her name is Christine Van Gyn. And I worked with her. She was one of the original interns for the Harper government the summer we took control. She was a student, some other law school. I think Osgoode Hall she went to, which is the University of Toronto. Anyway, the point is we were from all over the country. We just came to Ottawa for the summer and all that. So she was one of the people that I worked with. She is one of the people that now runs some kind of like law society think tanky thing in Canada. And she was the one who put the arguments together for a constitutional challenge of the Emergencies Act, the thing that happened in Canada with the truckers, right? So she won. The court said unconstitutional. Okay, so it was like shouldn't have happened. Okay, here's the CBC News headline. Okay, imagine the context is martial law was declared in your country, and all kinds of people got fucked, and a bunch of legal minds put together a case, went to the court, and won. All right, what do you think the CBC says about it? They say a federal judge says the Liberal government's use of the Emergencies Act in 2022 to clear on convoy protesters was unreasonable. It was unreasonable. That's what they said. The court went, yeah, that was unreasonable. It's unreasonable. So now everyone, remember this. Unconstitutional is the same as unreasonable. There's no difference. It's the same thing, right? If you're being unreasonable, if your wife or your husband is being unreasonable, just say, you're being unconstitutional. And the words are interchangeable. It's the same, right? It's the same thing. All right, back to the other Moscow time. We've got quite a few good Moscow times today, and we're going to get into some schadenfreude later. We're going to have a lot of fun with people's misery, which is a gateway to hell. So we're not going to do it too much, right? But first, let's get into some more fake news here. So is everything really this fucking out of order? Let me just see my real order that I chose versus what the shit is giving me here. Okay, yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah, so everything is indeed totally fucked and out of order and useless to me. So this whole album is garbage. Let me see if the other one worked. Yeah, garbage too. They're all garbage. Fuck it. Can't use this. Shit, garbage, doesn't work. All right, so I'm gonna have to read off my phone like an idiot. All right. So I'm gonna sit here like a complete idiot, and I'm gonna read off my fucking phone, even though I've got all kinds of equipment that's supposed to do this for me. or at least help it make it comfortable while I do it. No, that doesn't work. Who cares? You need, yeah, I need the stupid glasses. Yeah. Who's going to buy that shit product? Tim Apple. What a fucking loser that guy is. They got to go. This company has to go. I mean, as much as I loved it, the thrill is gone, right? I don't get like with the glasses, with the Apple Vision thing. It was the first product that Apple's released where I was like, gross, like every other product, including the watch, which is an average product at best. I mean, I have a stupid watch. The battery dies every minute, right? It doesn't last at all. The minute you get to 20% on the battery, it just dies, right? And it's been doing that for a long time. I've been running it on do not disturb with the, like you're in a movie theater setting or whatever, so that there's no buzzing or anything. So to preserve the battery, it also puts the light down low. And it still barely lasts me at 24 hours, and it never works. Like it never sends your call through. That doesn't work, right? Yeah. So the Apple, and we got Sergio saying Apple stock. So Apple now, especially with AI, you know, when it was just the phones and the iPhone and everything was built off the iPhone, they had kind of like a moat or a monopoly. That's gone, especially with Elon's phone coming out. Like the whole thing's got to go. But I remember saying it was like a dark magic that they had conjured, because I would get obsessed with Apple products when they came out. I was like that, right? When the iPad came out, I mean, I didn't care. I wanted it so badly. When the iPhone came out, it didn't even work. And it was still addictive. It didn't even work. And I had a BlackBerry, and the iPhone didn't even work. And it was amazing. Like if you held it the wrong way, you know, there was no calling or whatever because the antenna was shit. So, you know, the ability of them to sell the dark magic that made you instantly want the product, that's over. And the glasses confirm it. Like imagine spending, what is it, 1/10 of a Bitcoin on those stupid things? Imagine spending 10 million sats on a fucking eyeglass. iPhone 4 was my favorite. Yeah, iPhone 4 was an awesome phone. I remember when I broke and I had the cheap iPhone 4, like the plastic one, and it was great. It was great. I dropped it years later and it broke in London, but I had that one for years. It was a great phone. It was a great phone. All right, so let me try and find my Moscow time here. This is really fucked Moscow time because normally the Moscow time is all in the order and in the order that I want to say them. Right? There's somewhat of an order. That's what goes into making the show. I take screenshots all day, the day before and the night before and then the morning, and then I just arrange them in a photo album. That's it. I write down what I want. I write down what I think is interesting, just in a note form. I put it all unorganized, and then it takes me like 10 minutes to put it in order. And then boom, I know where to start. I know what to say next. I know what to say right to the end, and we're good. We have, you know, fun content. When it's out of order, it confuses me. I have it written down the order that I want it in, but that's not the same. And then I got to go find it. It's really annoying. All right, so I'll do my best. Let's see what we get. I'm supposed to mention something about Ukraine now. Yeah, here it is. So this one's good. So that was the Canada stuff. We're going to come back to Canada in a minute, but let's say what's going on in Ukraine now. So this one's pretty good. This is from Politico. Ready? Pentagon says Ukraine soldiers running out of ammunition without U.S. funds. The money is caught up in the extended negotiations between the Democrats and Republicans over the U.S. border. Right, there you go. We got more. We're not done. Oh yeah. Oh shit. No, I had one more from Canada. See, this is the problem. I had these in order, and now I don't. But this one's good from Canada. So Trudeau, you got the problems there. All right, this actually apparently happened. U.S. tourist shocked when he was asked to sign a release form after ordering a hamburger cooked medium at a Toronto restaurant. It's true. They do that in Canada now. I'm not kidding. You can't, and that's a compromise because they banned medium hamburgers for years. You haven't been able to order a medium hamburger in a restaurant in Quebec or Montreal or Ontario for a long time now. You order the burger and it just comes totally cooked. If you say medium, they say no. And they say no. At least the Hilton is giving you the consent form. I mean, I don't eat in restaurants really in Canada much anymore. The hamburger joint A&W is excellent though, grass-fed and all kinds of good stuff. So if you are in Canada and you need a fast food burger, there is actually a really good place. It's the best fast food burger you're going to find in Canada. A&W, not the same as the US A&W. I go to a US A&W sometimes because I go to a town called Lake George and they have one there. Not even close to as good. So anyway, if you do go to Canada and you want a medium hamburger, good luck. You got to sign a waiver form now. Canada. We love Canada. Okay, I got more. Oh yeah, so we'll just jump right. I can't keep doing the Moscow time because it's all out of order. None of it makes sense if it's out of order this much. But we can go right into a quasi Moscow time situation. It's kind of our theme. It's learn to cope. Right? Why did I say learn to cope today? Well, everyone's telling the journalists because there was a bunch of firings yesterday at the LA Times and at the Time Magazine and others. All kinds of journalists were fired yesterday. And so everyone's crying and they're doing the learn to code thing again, right? Where people are saying learn to code. And what gets funny is there's a bunch of journalists who thinks that never happened, that there wasn't an era where when they were secure in their jobs and they were writing all these pieces about West Virginia miners and if they just learn to code, everything's going to be okay. So now that they're getting fired, everyone is sort of jumping onto them, learn to code. And they're like, this isn't the first time it's happened, but it gets funnier and funnier, right? Because yesterday there was all these sort of meltdowns about the learn to code thing. Now, our theme today is learn to cope, which is slightly different because we're not learning to code shit, right? We're learning to cope with the Bitcoin standard and the imminent collapse of the fiat industrial complex. So learning to cope is actually more important than learning to code at this point. Coding, I mean, what are you going to do? Code Bitcoin? That's not going to happen. That's like doing your own research, right? So you don't need to learn to code. None of these journalists, they don't have the mental capacity anyway. They need to learn to cope, right? So we're going to talk about learning to cope today. And one of the ways they should learn to cope is to read Michael Malice, right? So Michael Malice had a party yesterday. If you guys don't know who Michael Malice is, he is honestly one of the best anarcho-capitalists you'll ever find. He's a total anarchist. And funny. He's really funny. Like, one of the funniest people I've ever come across. I've mentioned some of the things he's talked about here before, but he came up with some really good ones yesterday. So everyone's crying, right? Oh, the journalists, oh no, they're getting fired. First of all, he reminds us, well, no, I had one fake news story to start talking about this story. So let me get to that one. And of course I can't fucking find it. Of course I can't find it. It's nowhere. It's nowhere. There was a total order that made this funny and interesting and but that's gone. But let me find the one lead-in that I had because it's excellent, right? Let me see. Isn't it great when everything's out of order and sucks and it's unentertaining? Okay. Where is it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is it. This is it. I found it. Okay, so pretend I didn't screw up the order of everything. Pretend my notes are in order and everything is set up perfectly and there's punchlines and it's hilarious. So we're still doing Moscow time now. We haven't even talked about the theme. This is my last Moscow time, and then I'm going to jump to the theme. So this is from NBC News, talking about the LA Times layoffs, okay? Journalists of color hit hard by seismic LA Times layoffs. It's all about the journalists of color. It's not just the whole industry getting fired. No. It's them, right? So again, go back to what Michael Malice, one of the funniest people you'll ever find, was saying about it all. He came up with some pretty funny ones. So first of all, he brings in this, he goes after people who have like pinned tweets about working for the journalists, working for these newspapers like LA Times. He goes, hey, you might want to change your pinned tweet. And then he says to this journalist, so this journalist is Jack Herrera, and he's a national correspondent for the LA Times, but he's working out of Texas, right? He's working out of Austin. So Michael Malice jumps in. So this is all schadenfreude, right? Schadenfreude, if you don't know it, is pleasure in other people's misery. Now, pleasure in other people's misery is literally the road to hell. Like, I think that's how you get possessed by demons and all kinds of crazy things, right? So we're not going to do it too much, but we got to do a little, right? We can't let this go, right? So just a little bit of schadenfreude here, right? So Michael Malice says to this guy who is the national correspondent, he goes, hey, you might want to change your pinned tweet, right? P.S. Austin doesn't allow homeless people to sleep in street tents anymore, so maybe fuck off back to hell. It gets better. It gets better. He's got so many good ones, right? So he does this one where this girl, Annie Linsky, she's been fired too, right? Oh, no. It was her friend, right? Courtney's been fired, right? So Annie is telling us that Courtney lost her job at the LA Times, but Annie didn't lose it. But this is what she says. Last year, while traveling in Zambia with VP Harris, I recall sitting in a van waiting for Courtney. She was busy conducting her exclusive interview with Harris, which led to this great piece, right? Hard to see that the LA Times has let her leave. Michael Malice says, you should have a mostly peaceful protest about it, mostly. And then he says, the enemy class is not comprised of impressive people, right? He's got more. He goes to every journalist, right? So this one here wrote the mocking anti-vaxxers COVID deaths is ghoulish, yes, but maybe necessary. So the person who wrote that article, right, says, how did that work out for you? This one's even better, okay? This guy's name is Craig Marks, okay? This one's Craig Marks, okay? So Craig Marks does the music and culture for the LA Times. He's like the music writer, right? So I was part of today's mass layoffs at the LA Times. Loved the job. Would like to have another one. Please reach out if you have any leads/suggestions. Thanks, right? So Michael Malice responds, hey, if anyone wants to hire a boomer to write about music, Craig is your man. You could probably pay him in dog food a la Grey Gardens. Imagine you're a boomer music writer right now and you lost your job in the media. I don't want to laugh, but come on. They told us that we had to get vaccinated, right? It gets better. So this one here, Nick Bauman. Last year, Meredith asked me to lead the LA Times coverage of the 2024 election. So he was going to lead the insightful, undeniably useful LA Times 2024 election coverage. He was going to do that for us, Nick Bauman. But the Times laid me off today. Oh, wah, wah. So someone else will have to take on that task. Oh, no. What are we going to be so uninformed? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? But I'm proud of the plan we put together. He says, I'm proud of the plan we put together and work we've done. He's proud of the LA Times election 2024 coverage, right? I will be rooting for the LA Times in the months ahead. Michael Malice says, have you considered how hard it will be to get a new job when there are fewer and fewer out there for literal demons such as yourself? Okay, it gets better. This one's good too, right? So this comes from another one. Obviously he's wearing his mask in his profile picture, right? So it's a masked profile picture. And this is what he believes. He goes, for all of us who often have critiques of the corporate media slants and priorities, there are tons of conscientious journalists, and most of them, including the LA Times, the ongoing decimation of the media workforce is a big blow to democracy. It's a big blow to democracy. What are we going to do without the LA Times? What are we going to do? Here's some of LA Times coverage, right? This is the kind of shit they fucking wrote about, okay? Here's one. It's not just mocking COVID people. I got a whole bunch, right? So we got the famous white drivers are polluting the air breathed by LA's people of color. That was a headline from last summer, right? So democracy, what are we going to do, right? They've got more. They've got more. There's entire collections of these things coming out today, right? So this is the LA Times 2020 election coverage. Experts see little evidence that protests spread the coronavirus in the United States, right? Mask shaming men won't work. Here's what will. People are still not wearing masks. It's time to start enforcing the rules. Hey, Hollywood, could you use a snappy wear the damn mask campaign right now? Even as infections rise, nations see protests against coronavirus restrictions. Some Asian Americans and immigrants wore masks readily. In a brutal election year, it made them heroes, targets, and prophets. Column, the coronavirus crisis exposes the stupidity of Trump's healthcare policies. A choir decided to go ahead with rehearsal. Now dozens of members have COVID-19 and 2 are dead. So they go on. What's his name has way more stuff here. Let me try and find some of it. Oh yeah. So then they get into a big fight about whether or not journalist Chris Cillizza, he's the CNN guy, right? So Chris Cillizza is there saying, J.A. Kaczynski says, kind of like journalists cheering people getting laid off over COVID shots. Zero sympathy here. The journalists now need to hustle and get real jobs. Hey, maybe learn to code. Enjoy. Chris Cillizza says, right? So he actually tries to say this. So Chris Cillizza, you got to know the people. Chris Cillizza is one of the people you go to, or it's one that I go to on CNN all the time for a laugh. Like I go to him for the most estranged from reality brainwashing shit, right? So he comes out and says, it just didn't happen. And again, no journalist said learn to code, and neither did Biden. So that's what he says. There's a whole big argument yesterday. Chris Cillizza is trying to take the moral high ground that it's all just abuse, the learn to code thing, right? So of course, there's a million people that put all the articles, Appalachian miners are learning to code. These ex-coal miners learn to code. Am I a coal miner who should learn to code? And this is all from different newspapers, Business Insider, all kinds of them, Kentucky to the World, BitSource rewrites the code in coal country, all kinds of these things. Forbes turning coal miners into coners. Biden suggests coal miners learn to code. So here's what Stephen Miller says about it, right? About Chris Cillizza saying this. And it's perfect. It's just perfect. He goes, you were a 5 to 6 figure paid journalist at CNN and Politico and made a claim that someone like me debunked with 2 screenshots and 45-second Twitter keyword search. Have you figured out the problem yet? He also says to Chris Cillizza again, you won't correct, you won't apologize, you won't admit that you didn't know or just got it wrong. That's why the attitude against you and your industry exists. That's why you aren't at CNN anymore. That's why you aren't trusted. This isn't our fault. So indeed, it's not, right? And it goes on. There's, oh yeah, here's another one. This is the kind of democracy we're not going to be, this is the way democracy is suffering because the journalists are gone, right? So this is what the NPR, the NPC, another NPC News, not NBC, NPR, said, right? This is from October 22nd, 2020, the day after they censored the Hunter Biden laptop story, right? Why haven't you, this is what they actually wrote. Why haven't you seen any stories from NPR about the New York Post Hunter Biden story? Read more in this week's newsletter. If you want to read more, this is what you get. We don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. And we don't want to waste the listeners and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. All right. So Ranjit Singh says, the public scorn is merely a symptom. Finding the cause will require introspection from journalists. But that's never going to happen, right? It's never going to happen. So Richard Harambe is the one who came up with the learn to cope instead of learn to code, right? Which is where I got my thing here from today. Again, you get Michael Malice just running over these guys, right? And when he's saying here, he goes further and says they cannot compete on a level playing field, right? Which is what Michael Malice is saying to all these journalists who are getting rolled over today. And he also gave a pretty interesting breakdown of the corporate playbook, corporate media playbook, the legacy media playbook. And it's something that we've noticed for a long time, and it's something that really has sucked the power out of the fake news hypnotism machines. The fog of war and brainwashing that mainstream media or legacy media continues to spew, we've seen the pattern. It's not 2016 anymore. It's not even close to 2020 anymore. The world has changed so much. And we've seen the players, right? Mike Ben's showing you what Phil Bump is. Every day we sort of pick up the names. Once you see the patterns, it becomes impossible to not see what's going on. It becomes impossible to not think that the news that we see is just people disagreeing and arguing about a fact. It's not that at all. We wish it was just that. It's okay to have disagreements, right? You can have disagreements all the time. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing inherently. The place where it becomes a problem when you're not just disagreeing, it's when one side is actively brainwashing and trying to hallucinate people. And then it's no longer a disagreement because the objective is to hallucinate. The objective is to brainwash. So you're not actually going to change opinions because you disagree or that you see some cause and effect you didn't see before. It's not logical. These people are out to brainwash you, right? That's it. So now that we see the patterns, right? If you see what they say at NPC News, here's something they wrote yesterday. A far-right influencer who was accused of instigating bomb threats last year against a school library in Tulsa has been named an advisor to a state library committee, the head of the Oklahoma State Department of Education says. Okay, so they're saying here, they don't tell you who it is. They're just saying someone who threatened a bomb, right? They're trying to get you outraged. This person who threatened to bomb a school is now in a library. Whoa, what is going on here, right? So Michael Malice writes, right, corporate press playbook. 1, write articles blaming libs of TikTok, because it was libs of TikTok that they're trying to describe here. Apparently libs of TikTok called in a bomb threat to a school, which never happened, right? So write articles, step 1, write articles blaming libs of TikTok for investigating bomb threats. Step 2, claim factually, but not truthfully, that Rychik has been accused of instigating several bomb threats. The corporate press is the enemy of the people, indeed. So if you think about those things and wonder, where's this headed? And indeed, you start realizing that if you look at 2016, wasn't really like this. 2020 wasn't really as much schadenfreude dunking on these people. They had enough power to fight back a little bit, or at least they could use the mirage creating apparatus of mainstream media to fight back, but the power is out. The power is out and it doesn't work. So when you see them trying to do this stuff, you just see the temper tantrums now. You just see people throwing absolute temper tantrums. And Balaji said it perfectly. He says, good news, nothing is getting destroyed. Free speech is winning. In fact, that's what the temper tantrum is all about. As context, a journal, and this is all about some journalist going to Substack a few years ago, right? So we can see that the machine itself, the ability to persuade, the ability to do this stuff is just falling apart. After all we saw yesterday, right? After all we saw with this hallucinatory machine losing people that can't participate anymore, that can't help it, right? Because it is a numbers game. They need the amplification of all of these NPCs if they're going to be able to propagate the network, right? The more fake news propaganda spewers you have, the better the system works. It actually requires more nodes in order to propagate its system. And if it doesn't have more nodes, if it has fewer nodes, it's not going to work. And you can see, so they take this one opportunity yesterday, right, with all these people getting fired. And in other news yesterday, the thing they did cover, right, the thing they did manage to cover was actually just the Barbie movie. Did you guys see this? They covered the Barbie movie like crazy, and it also triggered them because 2024 is the best so far. It's the best. I've never found a year like this where literally every story is hilarious. It's just funny. There's nothing but funny news, only funny. I would look for something that's like crazy and whatever, but it's just funny. So the Barbie thing comes out, right? Barbie made all kinds of money. Everyone loved it. I was a fan of the movie, right? I thought it was great. We might disagree. I thought it was fun. And the reaction now is that woman director, woman writer, a woman's toy show, Barbie, right? So the Oscar nominations were announced yesterday. And who was the only person to get nominated from Barbie? It was Ken. Barbie, the director, the writer, just Ken got nominated. So the fake news had a conniption fit yesterday, a conniption about it. They went nuts. They're saying, LA Times, right? This guy kept his job. Glenn Whipp, no, not again. 4 years after being overlooked for her work behind the camera for Little Women, the Academy's branch again slighted Gerwig, this time for Barbie. You'd think making a movie that grossed more than $1.4 billion, earned ecstatic reviews, and launched 1,000 think pieces would have merited a nomination. Only Ken got it. People magazine. Greta Gerwig was left off the best director category, while star Margot Robbie was absent from best actress. Despite helming the #1 movie of the year, Gerwig was not recognized by the directing industry. From Detroit, lamented that Barbie did not get as many nominations as Christopher Nolan's critically praised Oppenheimer, which landed 13 nominations. But Oscar blew its chance to relive the 2023 face-off that had us all excited about movies again by having Barbie only 8 nominations. Well, Barbie is competing for Best Picture. The woman who embodied her, Margot Robbie, and the woman who led her, Greta Gerwig, are somehow missing. They're missing. NBC News' Deja Talento decried Margot Robbie not getting a nomination. Barbie took over the world last year, but Margot Robbie was locked out of the Best Actress race, and Greta Gerwig did not make the cut of the Best Director category. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Every single newspaper yesterday spent, I don't know how much time on Barbie. Again, and it was a great movie. It was a great movie, right? I'm a fan of Barbie. I think Margot Robbie should have got an Academy Award nomination, but I don't give a shit about the Academy Award, so I'm not going to get upset about it. What I am going to say, though, is that with Hollywood losing, I always say Wall Street instead of Hollywood, same thing. With Wall Street, Hollywood changing, with its ability to brainwash being diminished, with mainstream media's ability to brainwash being diminished, the change that Bitcoin is now offering for media, for all of these rotten institutions, journalism, is only going to increase. Our ability to beat these people at the games we're playing in now is becoming easier and easier and easier. And that's why when you, and also recognizing these patterns, right? When you hear Rachel Maddow on a Brian Stelter podcast saying, you know, if Trump is elected, it'll be the end of politics. That's what she said, right? It'll be the end of politics. Let me just find my Brian Stelter thing here. I don't know if I got it. Still out of order, you know? Well, there you go. I don't think it's there. Well, I had another quote from stupid Brian Stelter. Brian Stelter, but I can't find it now. Whatever. Dumb notes. So so let's go back to Trump then for a second, because I do have some Trump stuff. And where did I put it? So indeed, Trump won historic victory last night, right? He shattered the number of votes that he secured. So Trump has the biggest win yesterday in New Hampshire history. It looks now confirmed that there's no way out of it, and he's going to be the nominee. And one thing we got to recognize, right, and this is important for the fake news and what's going on, because it sort of blocks a major, it dams up a major breach that we would have had, right? So here's the context. Vivek and even Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, right, having them run against Trump and him not being coronated in Iowa, no coronation, right? So he didn't just run unopposed. He actually had real viable competition. Republicans, conservatives, whoever you want, you know, people that want to change, took a long time and a good hard look at the other candidates. I know I was openly a Vivek supporter and not a Trump supporter during the primaries for various reasons, even though I love Trump, right? I just thought Vivek being younger is the right way to go. But now that we've all had a chance, now that we've all seen everything, now that the results are there, you're able to embrace Trump a lot more than you would have had he run unopposed. They kind of legitimized him, if you will, right? That we had actual competition. We had actual, real, viable alternative candidates. And that we still said, I'm going with this guy, right? And I'm happy to be that Trump is going to be the nominee and he's going to do it and all that, right? So, and now that he has been, let's say, verified by actually having real competitive candidates against him, it makes supporting him easier, and it actually it closes that avenue of attack that the fake news would have used, that he runs the party, that it's a cult, that all of this stuff. Right now, you can't really say that as much as you would. So going into what we're going into with Trump being powered up the way he is, you can actually now see Trump using all of these fake news articles, because he's been pretty quiet over the past little while, right? He hasn't been, I mean, they censor him, so he can't really talk. But now that they've just piled on the failure, now that they're doing things like Nikki Haley should stay in the race because you never know what happens, right? Wink, wink, nod, nod. Could he make it to July? Who knows, right? More and more people, by the way, talking about that, the weird picture the Atlantic had about the 47. Laura Loomer did a big thing on it, right? The money and the bullet hole. And we were the first, I think, the first people to mention that it was psycho, that it looked crazy, right? I think I said it Monday morning, that the Atlantic article that Alex Soros retweeted, saying that great news, we don't have inflation or crime anymore. That one, that had the broken window from the crime, and the 47 convertible US silver certificates, and not pure fiat money, silver backed money. And the number came up to 47, and all the bills were 63, the year Kennedy was killed, and blah, 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 blah. So a lot of people now picking up on this being an absolute wink, wink, nod, nod. Now, I don't know. But remember, with Trump being legitimized, and with people, I wouldn't have been able to support Trump fully, had there not been other candidates available this time, because people would have said, you're in a cult and you ignore all this stuff. And now you can say, I don't ignore it. I see it, and I don't acknowledge it, right? And that's what having these other candidates let us do. It legitimized Trump in real ways, right? So I feel, and especially with what Vivek did day one of him being vice presidential potential, was he spoke to Trump about the pardons for Assange, Snowden, and Ross. I know Assange for sure. And he also talked to him about CBDCs. Imagine Trump is now using his persuasion powers to fight against CBDCs. And what we talked about yesterday is it's going to create a psychic cleavage in the American mind, because most Americans who are brainwashed too heavily will always go in the direct opposite direction of Trump. So if Trump is talking about banning CBDCs, I think you're going to see the fake news embrace this idea that, oh shit, we can't handle Trump. We've got to scale our censorship of Trump to all of MAGA. And I believe the scaling of censorship from Trump to MAGA is going to be a reason why they publicly embrace CBDCs. And once the enemy of the people publicly embraces CBDCs, you're going to have the equal and opposite reaction of people realizing that this political fight is really between Bitcoin and CBDCs, that there are no red and blue. That's all a scam. It's all a scam. It is literally going to be about whether or not we scale the industrial brainwashing military complex. And the only way for them to scale it is to literally turn the money into a woke version that controls incentives and behaviors and all of the things we are worried about, right? So what you're going to find, I think, is that as America goes through this very crazy year, the power of the media is just not going to recover. It's not. And you're going to get Trump, who is now going to be taking on voting machines. You know how much better it is for Trump to be arguing about voting machines than it is for him to be arguing about, I saw a video, right? He's going to be able to do this. So now that we see the media failing to this extent, and now that we see Trump being so successful and actually getting a boost in his persuasion by having Vivek campaign with him, and doing what he does, but in a way that doesn't create mental illness and Trump derangement syndrome, I can't see how either he's going to survive the year, because the threat is now, I think, unavoidable for the deep state. And the tools to short the deep state, the tools to short the industrial military complex and the brainwashing apparatus is now right in front of us. And of course, it's Bitcoin. So as things move forward, it's really going to be obvious that politics are no longer red and blue. I've been saying it for a long time, but 2024 is the year where it's going to really shift, that we go from red versus blue, liberal versus conservative, to something entirely different, which is going to be statist versus decentralist. And that will be the woke versus Bitcoin schism. And we're not going to lose, right? We're not going to lose that. It's the unimpressive people that we're up against. So either they embrace force and violence, which they may have to do, or we win outright. I think we're going to win outright. So, oh yeah, here's the Brian Stelter, right? This is their best bet, guys. This is their best bet. This is the limit of their persuasion before it gets to violence. All right, this is it. This is what we're up against. And imagine, we've got people like Michael Malice who laugh and are funny. They've got Brian Stelter. Brian Stelter says the following, right? Describing Trump's dictator worshiping pitch to voters, right? So they're actually going to go with this, right? Because they're going, if you watched CNN and everything last night, it was hilarious. It was the funniest thing you've ever heard in your life. Watching these people last night with Trump's victory, watching them squirm and try to rationalize. It wasn't quite as fun as the election night 2016. Nothing maybe will ever beat that. This year it might do it. It might do it. But here's what they're actually going with. Remember, this is the last train stop before violence. This is it, because they don't have any other weapons after this. It's this and then violence, all right? And the violence might be coming, right? We saw a guy yesterday, Libs of TikTok, expose this. You know the guy, they were recording people at the border, and he says, "You'll know my name soon," right? They caught some guy saying, "Who are you? Where are you coming from?" He walked over the border in Texas, and they're like, "Where are you from?" Right? And he goes, "You'll know my name soon." He's a total terrorist, like wanted for murder terrorist. And so these guys are running around America. So I'm telling you that there is violence coming. It's not going to be funny. It's going to be very dangerous. People are going to die. I think people are going to die. In order to preserve, American people are going to die in order to preserve this scammy system. And but it ain't going to work. Here's CNN. You know, this week CNN had lower ratings than some cowboy Western cable network and the History Channel. Right? CNN is just dropping. Right? So it's like almost not being watched. And here's what they have. Here's Brian Stelter's thing. This is the best they have before violence. The best. And the violence is coming. But just look at the best they have, right? If you pick me, that'll be the end of politics. And you won't have to deal with politics anymore. You won't have to deal with contested elections. This is Brian Stelter summarizing Rachel Maddow, summarizing Donald Trump. Listen to how retarded it is, right? If you pick me, that'll be the end of politics. And you won't have to deal with politics anymore. You won't have to deal with contested elections. You won't have to deal with contests or divisions when it comes to power. You'll have a strong man leader, and I'll just do what I want. And that won't be a lot simpler. And that's the offering. That strong man model is what the Republican base is enthused about. That's what they're going with. That's it. That's the best they can do. Rachel Maddow nagging you, right? And Brian Stelter just straight up gaslighting and lying. That's all they got, guys. There's no way we're going to lose. There's just no way. So again, as I said, all my notes were fucked up. You know, again, amazing work, Christine Van Geyen, the girl I worked with, right? She's the one who was even cited as the person who said that the whole thing was unconstitutional. I don't know if I had anyone else on here. I was going to talk about the security deposit owners. Oh yeah, Texas. Obviously, Texas is just ignoring. Yeah, it's definitely the Mark Dice Stelter voice. Yeah, that's like, I think he open sourced it. I think it's like meant to be copied. Right? I hear people copying it all the time. So I'll only ever do the Mark Dice version of Stelter. I can't do another version of Stelter's voice, right? Russell Brand is the best. Is he? Oh, I bet he is. Well, Russell Brand is a great actor. Forgetting Sarah Marshall was a great movie, and I thought he was terrific in it. So he, it wasn't bad. Wasn't bad. I can do better. I'll keep working on it. I'm going to check Rumble, see what's going on over there. See what's going on the Rumble. All right. What was I going to say about yeah, big Ken energy. We love it. All right. Smartinez says, best morning show, period. Bitcoin, MAGA 2024. Scary sight for them. Thanks, Martinez. Thanks for the comment. Good morning, Rumblers. Good morning, Sluggo. Galting. Good morning, y'all. Have you started using Rumble? It's off beta now. Yeah, I just saw that yesterday. They made it public yesterday, and I will be. I just did not have time to practice it this morning. And dealing with this dumb, idiotic file sharing thing took up all my time before the show. So I will do it. I'll try tomorrow. I just gotta set it up. Basically, that's why I didn't do it today. Sluggo says, talk about misinformation and disinformation. Unreasonable equals unconstitutional. Isn't that funny? Isn't it funny? Good morning from beautiful Marco Island. Marco Island, is that near Sanibel? Am I wrong about that? Is that near Sanibel? And Pine Island? I don't know. Cam Fam? I thought it was. Stop division / this is from Moran. Lead local by example and mix at meetups. Great day. No fear, no peace. No fear, peace, indeed. I was thinking we learned what a puppet show politics is. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. There's like levels of awareness that we've gone through, right? And I'd say one of the great things Trump did was pierce that veil of, for me anyway, that we're not dealing with two sides arguing. Remember what I've said a million times here. The thing for which people like me will always love Trump for is that he destroyed the Republican Party first. And by destroying the Republican Party, we'll always appreciate what he did because he exposed the uniparty within the Republican Party. When you say he destroyed the Republican Party, what he did was he flushed out uniparties, and he's still doing it. And when we saw him beat up Jeb Bush and all these other people years ago and start changing the waffly middle ground people to go towards power and all that stuff, we'll always appreciate that. And the levels of awareness are, first of all, the base level is, people tell the truth, right? And then you go up a little, right? You learn people lie sometimes, right? And then you go up a little bit, and then you go, wow, people lie all the time. But you're still not there, right? Once you get to Trump, he said the whole thing, it's not that they make a mistake and lie sometimes. The thing is about lying. Right? It's about lying. The thing is to keep the news from you. We didn't really understand how toxic and bad the news was until he basically flipped reality and showed us that all the news is fake. It's all fake. There was nothing at all real about it. And what you thought was a fight between competing ideas was really just a fake prison for your mind. And Trump was the first one to really break that mold, which is why to this day, right? One of the smartest things Kanye ever said about Trump and his observations about the 2016 election were the following. When Kanye said, I never thought I could be president when I saw Obama, right? Harvard and the way he spoke and all that. Kanye said, I thought I could be president when I saw Trump because I saw an entertainer, an artist, someone who was willing to break the mold, someone who was willing to be creative and do things differently, which totally fit with my worldview at the time because I was describing Trump in 2016 as an artist. Like that's literally what I did to describe why he was so interesting and how to excuse his confrontational, triggering nature, right? That artists, it's not about beauty. Sometimes it is about being confronted with difficult truths and difficult ideas. So when Kanye used to say, the first person who inspired me to be president was Trump, what he's really saying is Trump broke reality. You didn't understand that was even an option before him. And because he broke reality the way he did, as a Bitcoiner, I already understood, having worked for Harper, Christine Van Geyn, all these people, I saw the corruption at the executive branch. I knew that Susan Delacourt lady who writes all these articles on Trudeau, I'd partied with her a million times. Like I worked in the main Capitol building in Ottawa. I saw the journalists. I saw how everything was being done. And I wasn't an important enough person for people to be not themselves around me. No one really understood what was going on. I was a young guy. I had a lot of very influential friends and had a lot of access on the Hill, and a lot of people knew me. But it wouldn't be enough for the journalists to be like, "Oh, I gotta watch myself," right? I knew exactly what was going on, and I had friends who were their friends, and all this stuff. So I saw a lot of the corruption, which is why I quit politics. I said, this is not going to work. This whole thing is broken. I got into Bitcoin for that reason. And even I've said it a few times, I had an opportunity to join Trump's campaign in 2016. And as much as I thought it was not a bad idea, I said, no, I'm going all Bitcoin. I resisted. I had a choice one night in New York City. I could go to Trump's, more or less what you got last night, like the confirmation that he's going to be the candidate. That happened last in 2016 in Texas. He didn't get that confirmation until Texas. He had to do the full primaries to get the points because it was a different time, right? He wasn't an incumbent or wasn't a previous president. And so that night I was in New York with CoinDesk, and there was another party for Bitcoin and this and that. And I had a choice. And I could go to Trump's victory party at Trump Tower, or I could go to this, nice place, but it was with Bitcoiners and degenerates and all that stuff. And I literally had a choice. And I said, I'm not going back to politics. The Bitcoin thing is the only thing I'm interested in. And it's truly what's going to change the world. So I paid a lot of attention to the Trump presidency as entertainment, and it was fun, but I could see the brainwashing. It exposed what was really going on. And I would never have seen it if it wasn't for Trump as president. Now, I'm glad I didn't get involved back then, but now that things are aligning with Bitcoin, now that Bitcoin is finally meeting with the political discussion and is entering center stage in US politics, it makes sense for me to be more involved it makes sense for me to be more involved in this stuff, and to see that the work that I've been working on since I left politics is now going to affect politics bigger than anything anyone can imagine. It's going to be the biggest thing to ever hit politics. And it happens this year. When Trump says, again, Trump will have no choice but to be a fan of Bitcoin now. There's no choice, because he is going to drive the mental handicapped people into CBDCs. They're going to run to them as an answer to him and MAGA. And it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. We're going to beat them there too. We got to get Michael Malice into Bitcoin as a anarcho-capitalist, that's for sure. Let me reach out to him today. That's not a bad idea. All right, everyone. That's all I got for today. I hope you all have a great day. All right, let me see if I have any more Rumble comments, and then we'll be out of here. Yeah, Moran, thank you, Nolan. Yeah, no problem, guys. All right, everyone. Peace. Have a great day.